Well, it's often said that sustaining success is far more difficult than achieving it in the first place. Well, this season might be proving it for Northern Irish football. Yes, hello, and welcome along to part 143 of this Build a Nation story, Lifting Spirits, with me, Daniel. We are back today for the second leg of our Champions League playoff as we look to make it for the second year in succession. But the group stage place is far from wrapped up yet after a 1-1 draw in the away leg, a fortunate one at that, and plenty of injuries continuing to ravage us. We've also got deadline day around the corner. We're still searching for a goalkeeper. But all in all, it's been a frustrating start to the year, both for us and for other teams in the nation. So if you're looking forward to seeing what I mean and how things have started for everyone else, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. Hopefully we can find a superstar today, but at the moment, it's not looking particularly great. So let's start by having a look at the transfer screen and some of the troubles we're encountering on the recruitment front. And we begin with something that has been in difficulty all summer for this football club, which is that our star players are attracting a lot of interest from elsewhere, particularly the Premier League and Championship in England. And that is causing its own problems because a lot of them are homegrown at the club and we have to keep those stars here. We've seen the importance of that and we've seen the players we've had to let go this summer because of homegrown rules. We don't want to have to keep doing that. So we've got to keep these people in the club, but it does mean at this stage of the season that we're riding out waves of unhappiness that we don't really want to have. So it is affecting our performances. We struggled at Lech, we've struggled at Derry City, and I'm a bit worried that it is going to have a hangover and maybe cost us a Champions League place. We'll wait and see. You can also see our goalkeeper that we tried to sign earlier in the summer, Jonathan Morrison from St Mirren. Offers rejected, contracts rejected, a few things going wrong. He is unhappy publicly at the fact he can't join us, so I guess swings and roundabouts. And he's a slight upgrade on Neil Kane, but is he the man I want to go all out for? Probably not. Are we going to get anyone better? I doubt it this window from what we've been scouting. So maybe it's a big decision to make on deadline day. We'll wait and see what we do. But other than that, there's not been much occurring. No new players in or out since the last episode. And at the moment, although there's frustrations off the pitch and on it for some of the other teams in the nation, we have started the season okay on it. And ironically, our backup team is doing better, yes, against far weaker opposition, but they're more cohesive. There's not many unhappy players there. So you were with me for the Lech game as we won 2-0 and reflected on that very busy summer in a transfer window. Since then, we beat Warren Point by 7-1. Paul Elliott scored, so did Gary Murray with an own goal, and Morgan Griffiths, Jordan Howard, Duncan McKenzie, Stephen Cowan and Merival Austin. The last three got their goals off the bench from the first team. Away at Derry City, we nicked a 1-1 draw. Pretty poor game, to be honest. It was a late equaliser from Mark Scully, who I put on the bench despite having an injury, and he came on and did get the equaliser. We just had to gamble on that occasion. Against Crusaders at the weekend, we rotated and won 3-0. Jordan Howard didn't really have an impact against Derry. Against that weaker opposition, he is so strong. So the young side doing pretty well on those occasions, but these ones are difficult. We go into the Derry City game today with no left-sided player fit. We're going to probably have to gamble on one of them starting or play Cowan out on the opposite side. And then we've got a league game following 3 days later in which we're going to have to rotate fully again. So it's quite a difficult situation to manage and it's not been the best start for other teams in the nation. So this Champions League tie does put a lot of responsibility on us because if we go and have a look at the other teams in the nation, we mentioned that Coleraine went out in the first round. They didn't get Neil Daly in time. They then lost at the newly promoted side in the league. It's been a very iffy start for them, I think we would say. Then since then, Larne have got through to the final qualifying round in the Europa Conference and had the misfortune of drawing Motherwell, which is why what's going to happen next year for the coefficient is so important. How long that's going to last, I don't know. But they're 3-1 down after the away leg and that late 95th minute goal, probably going to cost them the tie, I'm afraid. For Linfield, we know they're going straight into the Europa League after that ridiculous Europa Conference win. But now what's going to happen? Because they're not going to do as well in the Europa League as they did in the Europa Conference, and the coefficient points are the same. So we're not going to gain any more than we got last year. We're probably going to lose some. And we're going to do very well, having not improved the squad overall, to go any further than the last 32 of the Champions League. And in fact, if today goes wrong, we might not end up in there at all, albeit the Europa League could give us a chance at success in the long term. But if we go and have a look at what the coefficient stands at the moment, it does lead to our difficulty because next season, the club coefficient is going to go into the top 16, which basically means 2 teams in Champions League qualifying, 1 team in the Europa League qualifying, and 2 in the Europa Conference, which means 3 teams have got a great chance of getting European group stage football. However, if that then goes wrong the first year, the coefficient is going to drop off really quickly, and the nation's going to be back to square one, because if we go and have a look at the nation club coefficients, this season, a pretty good year for Northern Ireland drops off, the joint second best of the whole time, and I don't think we're going to match it with what we gain this year. There's a lot of pressure on us and on Linfield, and barring alarm miracle, it's going to be 2 instead of 3, so that's going to make it trickier for us to gain points. The good news is, we have got a very poor year the year after, and we have got that brilliant season last year, which is going to stick with us for a while, but could be a little bit of a difficulty as things go along. We'll be hoping the teams directly below us have a tough year in Europe this season. So that's something for the future to worry about. We're also going to keep an eye on deadline day across the nation, because there's lots of players that Linfield are linked with, there's lots of players of ours that are being linked elsewhere, and there are also lots of transfers still going on, albeit has quietened down a little bit the last couple of weeks. So we'll come back to that on deadline day. It will be the focus of the second part of this episode. But for now, we have got to try and make the Champions League groups again. It is something that gives you automatic coefficient points. It is the money maker for us as well. Allows us to pump money into the nation, allows us to keep improving facilities, things like that. But arguably, going in the Europa League gives us a greater chance of winning. So I don't really know what I want, but we've got a chance at the Champions League. We've got to go for it. Nearly 6,000 fans in against a very decent Derry City side. Let's go and pick our 11, which is going to be, I think this. I've been umming and ahhing on the left-hand side. Do I take out Cowan, gamble on the Serbian kid who is on the bench with an injury? But I'm not going to, because he's quite injury prone. He's an 18-year-old for the future, and we can't just think about the short term here. Jordan Howard on the bench, as you can see, is really struggling with his match load. He played all of the last 3 or 4 games. Mark Scully's making his first appearance back from injury from the start. And if you have a look at the rest of the squad, we've not really got a great deal of attacking depth, because Misalidis is out, the Serbian is just coming back, and while we have got a couple of striking options that are fit in the squad, they're all having to start the game in different positions. So it's not going to be an easy one, this. We've got 3 players unhappy because they want to leave. They're all under transfer requests from other clubs, and our goalkeeper situation is still not resolved, so it's still a weakness in the squad. That means our 11 for today is Neil Kane in goal, Reid and Stout are the fullbacks with Mackenzie and Smith as centre-half, Jude and Gash the midfield 2 with Maraval Austin ahead of them, and then Cowan and Elliott off Scully up front, with a few subs there if we need them. But this is going to be tricky. We're going to hope that we can sneak through to the group stages, and then, once we've got the money in, we can relax a little bit. Well, here we go then. It's a Derry City side with a good front 2, a good midfield 2, and a number of players that we've been linked with in the past. 2 originals in the team still, which are Sean Ruffin, the left back, who is obviously a very popular young man in Football Manager this year. Mark Travis in goal, another one, big name at Bournemouth, linked with my club Luton Town in real life as I record this. Let's go and get through the dressing room though. They've made 2 changes. I don't know how many we've made from last midweek, but we certainly made a lot from the weekend. We've got Neil Kane acting professionally, and that is one of the positives he's got. He does bring a good spirit to the squad. He's currently the skipper. Let's get through the Champions League music. We need to deliver on the pitch, and I don't care how we do it, but we need to get through to the group stage. Well, just 4 minutes on the clock, and we're back on the ball. A free kick in our own half with the back 4 playing it around, and I can't wait for the day where they're not all unhappy again, as Jordan Gash, one of those 3, gets it in the middle for Reid. The 2 of them passing between themselves. I wonder what secret meetings they're having about leaving. As Elliott gets to the byline, good cross in, Mark Scully's up and hits the bar. And that was the difference when he came on last week, that extra height. Him and Misalidis, we forget the physical presence. 6'8" and 6'5". Maraval Austin 6'2". Just having that physicality in the team is such a threat from any position, especially when you're not playing well. As Elliott gets it on the right again to Reid. Chips it over the top, but I'm not sure he's going to get there. Relying on a defensive mistake, but Ruffin does well. And Travers, the experienced keeper now, clears it long. Luke Smith brings it down for Reid though. It's a long highlight and we're still on the ball. Here is Smith again to Gash. and he carries over halfway. Big switcher play to Cowan, who's cutting in from that left-hand side. It's not a natural position for him. The finish kind of showed that. Tried to take it on his right foot, but didn't get the right contact. And in the end, it was a pretty comfortable save. The corner's headed away as well, though it's back into Jordan Gash. Back to Luke Smith and Jude, but I think it might peter out. It does, and after 10 minutes and a positive start, it is 0-0. We'll encourage the lads. There's not much morale in this team, but hopefully we can get the spirits up and maybe get a goal with it. As we're back for a throw on the right with Derry City, we're having to zoom in for some reason. Oh, it's a simple goal. A throw, a flick on, and a back post header. And Derry City are risking putting us out of the Champions League. If we don't get into the group stages and Larne go out so there's only 2 teams from Northern Ireland, this is a massive downturn for the nation this year. And we have got to have a real think, because at the moment, we've not really looked like scoring too much, although Cowan's at the back post from a free kick and he heads it straight over the bar. This is problematic, this performance. We are on top, but we need the goal and we need it to start flowing. We mentioned last episode at that point, Cowan was the only man who'd scored, and since then, most of them had been by Jordan Howard. But the unhappy Jordan Gash has just got his first of the year. It was a little daisy cutter, it somehow got under the goalkeeper. Mark Travers getting old in this game, he couldn't get down, but I'm not complaining. It's a very deserved equaliser on the night. It puts us back level on aggregate. Can we now push on, having scored just before the break? Push on and get that second half win. We're back in this tie, we're back in the game. Now let's hope we can get a good second half performance and get ourselves through, although it's an early free kick for Derry City. Flicked on, it's another one of those set piece routines. Ball carries it down the right hand side. Cuts into Claridge, back to the midfielder. Big shot from distance, it's over the bar. Not a great first 5 in the second half here, although we're at the other end with a throw. It's a poor one, and it's clear long to Smith, who does well to win it for Jude and Gash. He's had a good game in spite of his unhappiness. Flicked on by Elliott to Scully. That's going to be offside, I'm afraid. VAR will check it. I'm really not confident this stands. Here is the goal review. It is disallowed. The referee's arm goes up straight away. It looked it. I can't really complain. Mark Scully not really getting going. You can see Cowan on the left just not playing well. We've not got a natural player out there. And now Luke Smith's made a howling mistake at the back. Oh, one of the most reliable defenders at the club. And he's had a stinker. Oh, how can you do that on such a big stage? He's been so good for us. He's been the rock back there. But now we're going to have to gamble. I'm going to bring on the Serbian on the left wing. We've got to have a player who's natural there. I don't want to take off Merival Austin as well. We can't lose all of the height. But what do we do from here? I think I'm going to take off the unhappy fullbacks if I can. Reed will be replaced by Murphy. Kyle Cart will come on for Stow. My thought process here is the happier players on the pitch will hopefully have an effect. We've got half an hour to go. Derry City have been the better side this half. They've levelled up the stats near enough. And as Jude switches it to Elliott, we need some inspiration. He gets to the byline, cuts it back, does he know? Keeps possession, it's a good ball in. Merival Austin turns, the shot's blocked. It's cleared downfield, Smith's lost another header. You're 6'6", man, win something. And now it's happened again. We've rushed him back from injury, Mark Scully. And it's going to cost us. Now I have to decide if we throw on an unfit Howard, who's in goal scoring form, or a motivated Dunn and push Austin up front. I think that's what we're going to do. Damien Dunn on, Merival Austin through the middle, keeps the 6'+ height in there as well. We've got 20 minutes to go. We're a goal down on aggregate. And we probably deserve to go out over this tie because they were the better team at home and they've been even enough here. Now that ball's in, it's a good save, Travers. We just can't find a way through. And most of these chances have been half ones rather than brilliant ones. Luke Smith has lost another challenge. I don't know what he's doing. He's not even getting back into position. Get in defence, man. It's game over. What is Luke Smith doing back there? He completely ignored his responsibilities. He didn't get back into position. And I'm going to take him off for the final sub. Bird will come on for him. He'll swap sides with McKenzie, I think. Is it even worth doing it? No. We're going to leave it like that. We've gone attacking. We've got 20 to go. And we are in big, big trouble in this tie. It looks like we're dropping into the Europa League. It looks like with the injuries at the moment, our squad is currently in a weaker position than last year. And that added interest from other clubs, we know it's a big impact in FM. The morale is so different to last year. We've never had these problems with unhappiness in the summer. and it's something new that we're struggling to deal with. Lisburn Distillery will not be in the Champions League. We will join Linfield in the Europa, and we need a miracle from Lahm, because if they don't get through, 2 sides instead of 3, us in a weaker competition without the Champions League points, this could be a very difficult year. Well, Scully is out for another 4 weeks, which makes it 8 injuries at the club. It is an injury crisis, by the way. 4 million instead of 13 this year for going into the Europa League, which isn't great. We'll find out the fixtures when we come back in a moment. I'll get through the league game off camera too. Deadline date, we look for a goalkeeper. I'll tell you what, the centre-halves aren't looking great at the minute either. We're going to stick with it for now, but we really need to get through this window unscathed. Well, it's transfer deadline day, and it's been another few mixed days at the football club. We'll start with the positive, which was the result of the weekend. It was comprehensive, to say the least. A 9-1 victory against the newly promoted side. Howard and Elliott both with hat-tricks, one for Jude, one for Dunn, and one for the new Serbian youngster, as we racked up a very big victory. We also got to bring on some reserves later in the game. But if we go and look ahead to the negatives, it's not quite so good. You can see we've had some misfortune with cup draws. Firstly, we managed to get an away tie at Inverness in the SPFL Trust Trophy, which is one of the hardest ties going. In the Europa League, we've had a bit of a stinker. Our home games may be a winnable. Feyenoord, Copenhagen. We also had Bournemouth from the Premier League, I think we did. Always seem to become a massive side in these saves this year. We've also got Red Star at home. Lille away is going to be tricky. And then Slavia Prague, Ludogorets, and a Portuguese side. A few trips across Europe, which may not be particularly pleasant for us on a night. However, Linfield have got a slightly better draw if we go and have a look at them. They've got a couple of home games that are very winnable. They've got the Turkish side Fenerbahce, who don't travel that well. They've also got Olympia and Slovan Bratislava at home, which I'd expect them to win. Away games include the likes of Bodo Glimt and also Panathinaikos, which with Linfield's squad now may be fairly even games. However, Larne did not complete the miracle. They did win on the night against Motherwell and were actually in a position to take it to penalties, but a late red card in extra time, followed by a heartbreaking goal at the other end, meant they went out after the 120 minutes and do not make it to the group stage. However, there are some negatives on our front as well. A couple of players have now requested transfers, which we have rejected. And going into deadline day, we're starting to get big offers. The ones for Reed around 2 or 3 million quid. And I'm wondering, based on what we've seen before, is the chairperson going to take this out of our hands? They shouldn't, because we've got loads of money in the club. We managed to get more money for getting in the Europa League and for playing in Champions League qualifying. But we've seen it happen before, so I'm not too optimistic. We've also been scouting a goalkeeper throughout this window. We've also been scouting young players at 18 or under, and we've not had much success. The goalkeeper front, maybe we go back in for Morrison, but he's not really enough of an improvement to really justify the fee at the minute. And that is a problem for me. I don't want to take out a Northern Irish player without having a brilliant replacement. And Jonathan Morrison is not a big upgrade. The other guy we scouted, who I thought looked really good, is not particularly well rated by the assistants and is also apparently not willing to join us at the minute. He's rated as a first team regular, but is not playing there. And at the moment, they won't loan him out. So might have to wait till January on that front. We'll wait and see. We are searching for under 18s, but not having much luck. And also, from a Northern Ireland point of view, it looks like we're going to be watching a bit of Hull this year, because Connor Brown, the young superstar at centre-half, has gone on loan there. And now it looks like David Close is as well. He's wanted by them too. So possibly the 2 stars of the future for the nation are going to the same club in the Championship. For now, though, we've got 16 hours of deadline day to go. And it looks like, unless a great keeper pops up, we're more worried about what the other teams are doing. Right, I've been swayed. Towards the end of a very strange day here in Northern Ireland, I have made an offer and offered a contract to Jonathan Morrison. The reason, well, I'll talk about that in a minute. But firstly, it's been a bit of a strange day here in Northern Ireland, because this morning, a couple of big offers for Mackenzie and Gash, both of which were rejected. A youngster who is pretty good had been offered a loan where he wasn't going to play, so he's obviously not going. And one youngster in Adam Mills has gone to the lower leagues. However, what we've got here is a situation where Jonathan Morrison got himself transfer listed by request. He halved his wage demands to 1.2 grand a week. And I'm starting to think this is worth a gamble now, because at this point, we are definitely going to make a profit on him. He's 25, he's got a bit more potential. He's a very good goalkeeper. I've got to go for it. So Jonathan Morrison at this price will come in. He will join the club for 140 grand and just 1.2 grand a week in wages. Crucially though, he's also happy to be a backup, which means we don't have to play him every week. We can play Neil Kane in a league game still. We'll see how that goes as we go along. What I might do though is try and offer Neil Kane out to clubs and see if we can get him a move, because if he can move on, maybe become a regular at Linfield or at Larne or at Coleraine, maybe we've got ourselves something special. He's a great personality, but he's not a great goalkeeper, and he's also now 30 years of age. Let's go and get Morrison in, welcome him to the club, and then decide what we're going to do with Neil Kane. Well, oh dear is all I can say at the minute, because Jonathan Morrison is in and I can see 2 team leader meetings above it. Don't know if they're related to that or if they're related to the fact that perhaps a couple of players wanted to leave earlier. We're going to ask Mackenzie to welcome Morrison, the fellow Scot. We're going to get him registered for the squad because we have got that one spare space now for a non-homegrown player. Let's see what these are about. Yet Miles Stow's unhappiness is going to cause problems at the club. I'm not going to make us weaker. I am not going to make this club weaker. Neil Kane is unhappy about that. Might be pushing your way out there, son. What can we say? I don't want to hear any more about this. I think that's about right. There you go. 2 of them have gone quiet. Duncan McKenzie's sorry. And I'll say we'll leave it there. We're happy with that. The other one's probably about one of those, isn't it? Jordan Gash is unhappy. It is the same 3 players in. I'm presuming I'll get the same reaction here. I always want to do right by the team. We can't let good players leave. Exactly the same reaction from the 3 players. And I'm going to say again, leave this alone and get on with your football. We haven't sorted it out, but we've got a couple of players who are really struggling with that at the minute. And all this unhappiness is caused us a problem we haven't had before. And it definitely had an impact on that European game. What I am going to do now, just to upset the apple cart even more, is offer out our professional captain, Neil Kane. He's unhappy at the moment anyway, his dynamics aren't good. He's annoyed that we've not sold other stars, so we'll sell him instead, shall we? Let's go and see if there's any offers. Well, no, there isn't. So now we might have a problem because unfortunately, we've got 4 goalkeepers on the books, and this is what I was fearful of. Neil Kane is now still here. We've got a goalkeeper that we've bought in and 2 other backups, so I might have to try and loan one of out. Let's have a look at the inbox though for the window. Did anything happen at the end with Linfield or the other big boys? Linfield, of course, preparing for Europe. They went big with Kashif Beaton. He's already having an impact there. Michael Black, a great centre-half signing. But what happened on the final day? Any big moves? Doesn't look like there's any from Linfield, is there? There are a few across the division, but most of them are players going out. Linfield loaning out youngsters, us getting in Jonathan Morrison. And we are now got to prepare for 4 months with 4 goalkeepers. And also with extra fixture congestion, because the big problem with dropping into the Europa League, as we've seen previously with Thursday night football, and as we saw with Linfield last year, is we're now going to be battling for the home stadium. We're not going to be able to play on Saturdays in the league. And with the Sunday rule in this division, it means we're going to be left with a lot of games to catch up on. Now, on previous occasions where we've had that, we've not been able to win the title. Are we going to be able to put that right this year? We'll find out as we go along during the year. Linfield have got the same problem, and we've got a tricky draw in the Europa League. A number of players still unhappy. It's the final day of the English window too, so we might still end up with offers. What we're going to do though is leave it a little while now. I think we're going to come back maybe towards the end of October, start of November. I'll give it 10 or 12 games, get back for a Europa League match. We'll see how we start the campaign. If we lose to final, I might change my mind. But overall, it's been a fairly good start to the league season, a disappointing start for the nation, a disappointing start for us in Europe, and a very disappointing transfer deadline day. If you did enjoy the episode, seeing us back to reality after a miraculous year, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. How about it, eh? Let me know in the comments. Sustaining success, is it going to be more difficult than getting it to start with? More importantly, what are we going to do in goal? Let me know what you would do if you were in charge. If you want to stay up to date with the rest of the season, subscribe and turn that notification bell on. All the key links up in the eye above, including a Twitch channel with F1 Manager starting on Thursday, the football podcast with new season predictions coming next weekend. But thank you for your support as always, and I'll see you next time as we try to recover from this mess.